Hi friends, it's Pixie. Welcome back to the sofa and my home. Glad you could join me here. I'm so sleepy today. I'm meant to be studying. I've started a new class. It's a continuation of the last one I was taking, and I was umming and ahhing about if I should even do it because I'm just so exhausted, but I don't really have a better option to have money to live. So I'm trying, but I've listened to part of a lecture now and I can't take in the information because it's completely new stuff. I've been drinking a big cup of tea and I thought I'm gonna just chill for a bit and read a little, and hopefully I will gain more energy later in the day. Maybe I'll have some coffee. So, since we last spoke, I've been reading The Dispossessed, and it is brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant. I'm not gonna say much about it now because I need to collect my thoughts to be even remotely eloquent. Eloquent was the word I was looking for. So yesterday I started listening to The Confession. On audio. And now I'm so into this that I just want to read this. And I kind of just want to read it physically because that's going to be faster, because I'm so into the plot and what's happening. It's so mysterious. And I'm living for it, to be honest. I'm probably going to keep listening to this and draw a little. Try to get my brain juice flowing again.
Right. Christina takes it, and it kills her, said Connie. Slowly, Deborah placed a champagne glass on the coffee table.
I tried to film a clip yesterday talking about these two books that I finished since we last spoke eye to eye like this. However, I forgot to turn the front-facing camera the right way, and I filmed the wall while I was talking. And no, that's not what I want. So here I am today. I'm wearing a new hat. I made this. You may have seen some B-roll of me crocheting this. I'm so pleased. I think the colors are so cute. I'm not very experienced with crocheting. I've mostly been doing knitting when it comes to yarn crafts. So this was very much like a learning experience, and I did make a mistake, but it works. It's a hat. These books were both really good in different ways. And I'm gonna attempt to explain why, but I'm gonna struggle with both of them. Let's start with The Dispossessed. So we follow a scientist from the anarchist moon who travels to the capitalist Earth to do science, and we also have a dual timeline going on. So every other chapter, we also follow his upbringing and learn about the world, how the anarchist world works. And I love following a scientist in a science fiction book. I feel like it's a common and very like convenient way to explore the world without doing like info dumpy world building stuff, which I love. And I also just think science like in the real world is interesting. So it's really interesting to explore a fictional world from that kind of lens. So we explore a lot of the issues that arise for the people trying to build. Sometimes they call it socialism, sometimes they call it anarchism, sometimes they call it non-authoritative communism, but it is very clearly based on the philosophy and theory of anarchism. So I kind of struggled because there were some things that I agreed with as a Marxist and some other things that I didn't agree with. Because while Marxism and anarchism has the same goal in common, there are definite dividing lines in how we understand the world and subsequently how what methods we think will achieve those goals. There was a quote from the founding anarchist thinker in this fictional world, Odo, "To be whole is to be part." And that I think is very, very true, and I really liked it, so I made myself a bookmark, and I love it. I think it's super cute. So for most of when I was reading, I thought it was going to be 5 stars because I was really enjoying it. And then there was a sexual assault scene that I don't think was necessary, but now I've been pondering it for a while. I think it may have been part of what, I think when may have been trying to talk about how more genuine equality in material conditions will make it possible to have genuine equality between the sexes, because the anarchist world is a lot more equal than the capitalist earth that we see through his lens. But there are some in the anarchist world that have misogynist ideas still, and this sexual assault happens also. So and that, if interpreted in that way, that does express something true, namely that while a revolution will drastically and quickly change most people's consciousness, and prejudice in a revolutionary situation can disappear overnight, every trace of oppression is not going to disappear like that the night after the revolution, but the world you build will make it obsolete. And it is a struggle for them because this moon is very barren, and in a part of the book they struggle with a drought and struggle to feed everyone, which also makes equality hard to maintain or achieve. And that also is a parallel one could draw to the degeneration of the Soviet Union, because the underdevelopment and lack of resources was one of the reasons that the Stalinist bureaucracy could develop and take power. And bureaucracy is addressed in this as well as something that is starting to like creep up on them, and I like that too. Yeah, it was done in an interesting, nuanced way, I would say. The other thing that brought this down from a 5 to a 4 star, unfortunately, was the way it ended. And I think I had really high expectations for the conclusion because it had brought up all these very interesting and very relevant themes. So I just really wanted more out of the conclusion. But I think in the end that does reflect the limits of anarchism. The reason why I'm a Marxist and not an anarchist. Because I think Marxist philosophy and method has a way forward and would have shown a way forward from the problems that are addressed in this book in a way that I don't know why Le Guin would omit if she was able to perceive them. But I could be completely wrong, and I'm open to comradely debate in the comments. So let me know if you think I'm wrong. And then we have The Green Rabbit. I did not expect to be giving this book 5 stars, which I know defeats the readathon a bit. I did think it would be a solid 4 star. But I didn't expect to be hit so hard by it. And I don't know why, but it was one of those books that made me feel that not only am I a part of the world, but the world is also part of me. Which I hope you know what I mean, because if you don't, I know that sounds kind of stupid, but if you know what I mean, then you know that it's real. And that's the feeling I want when I read a book. Like, I want to feel connected to humanity. That's why I read books. So that was really good, but it was also sad. It also made me feel kind of down. This is also a dual timeline where we follow one 30-something woman in 2017, 2018, and then we follow her mother back in the 1980s, and the 30-something, like the mother disappeared when our main character was a baby, and we are trying to find out what happened. And in the mother's timeline, we sort of follow the year leading up to the disappearance. And that mystery of how she disappeared just really hooked me. And what I also really liked was that all of these main female characters, which was Rose, the daughter, and the mother, whose name I'm blanking on at the moment, Elise, and then an author who Elise was in a relationship with, Constance, and all of these 3 main women are flawed and messed up in different ways, and both their good and their bad is explored really honestly, I felt. Like, that's how I feel. I made the mistake of going on Goodreads and looking at some reviews, of this book afterwards, and some people were saying that they were just assholes. But that's not the experience I had at all. I really like that, and one thing that I really appreciated was that Elise is bisexual, but her sexuality is never used against her. Like, she is criticized for being flaky and shitty in different ways, but her sexuality is never brought into it, and it could easily have been, because that's like a stereotype against bisexuals, but it never was, and I just appreciate that. Like, I know that's a very low bar, but I'm not really spoiled with bisexual characters that are written well in a layered, nuanced way. So I just liked it. Another criticism I saw on Goodreads that kind of surprised me was that the feminist points that characters bring up are like too simple and trite. And I mean, I agree, but I just read that as that's where this character is at, like as part of the characterization. I didn't read it as, oh, the author is trying to teach me a good lesson about feminism. And because I hate when I feel like that when I read a book. I don't mind if an author is trying to teach me a lesson, but I don't want to know about it. Just be subtle, be discreet, and I will eat it up. But if I feel like hit over the head, I will get annoyed. So I read this in like a day because I got so invested. Also, this was the first book where I've gone back and forth between the audiobook and the physical book, and that was kind of fun. The audiobook is read by Hayley Atwell, and she did a really good job, and it was really good. So that was 5 stars. And now I have one day to read a dark fantasy, horror, or a thriller. And I might still read this, The Woman in Black by Susan Hill, because it's quite thin. It is 140 pages. So I could. But last night I started listening to The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher, because that's been on my TBR since I heard Books and Lala talk about it in her... She did like a horror reading vlog, and I thought it sounded good. But I'm not sure it's gonna be more than like a 3-star. So maybe I should either DNF it or just like put it on pause. I don't know. I'm in my Gothtober list on Scribd, and also reading this is just making me really want to read some spooky books now. Hi! How about an update in a different spot than where I usually am? So I don't have a ton left of the Hollow Places, and I'm gonna see if I can fit something more in that could be high rating, because I think this is gonna be a 3. It's like, it's spooky and charming and weird, And those are all things that I like, but I'm not really in the mood for like the ooh, I'm so quirky kind of style that it has. And I usually am. Like, I loved Gideon the Ninth, which is like very memey. Uh, so it's that I'm not super loving the hollow places is completely like on my current state of being. I'm just very like exhausted. Like, I'm so exhausted and a bit worried because I'll probably have to stop studying and stop taking student loans, and how am I gonna sustain myself? Because in reality, I'm very disabled, but on paper, I don't have a paper that says that. And if I did, would I be getting the help I need then? Probably not. Because, the welfare state isn't what it's cracked up to be. Let's just put it that way. So, I am gonna finish listening to the Hollow Places and play solitaire. Hi! Let's wrap up this vlog. So, I read this little book last night. It's 100 pages, just about. I had never heard of this until I saw it in a bookshop, and it was cheap. So I decided I could treat myself, because I love Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, and I was like, new Mary Shelley content? Give me. And I was also hoping that it would count towards the horror prompt and that I would give it a higher rating than the 3 stars I gave to The Hollow Places. But it turned out to not be horror. I did give it 4 stars though. So I don't know how well I describe The Hollow Places, so I will do that in just a bit. I'm just gonna explain this quickly. So this is a very tragic story. Trigger warnings include incest and suicide. Luckily, there is no sexual assault on the page, and there's nothing sexual even mentioned throughout the whole thing. And it's told just as a tale of misery for all involved. And yeah, like, it's heavy. So if you're not feeling too happy right now, then maybe skip this one. Because it was kind of rough. But I felt okay reading it. Like, I think it's done well. I think it's done really well. It's from the perspective of the daughter. I almost feel kind of like Mary Shelley succeeded in doing what Vladimir Nabokov tried to do with Lolita. Lolita is obviously famously about pedophilia and has weirdly been very like glorified and romanticized. And it's from the perpetrator's perspective, and which I think plays into it. And like, that's what he wanted to do for some reason, but I think, I don't know, maybe I have it wrong what Nabokov was going for. And I said I was going to do this quickly, and now I'm just on a whole sidetrack. Anyway, this was super dark, and Shelley's father withheld the manuscript because he thought it was too scandalous. So it's been published posthumously. I'm glad I read it, even though it is dark and a rough read. Now, The Hollow Places. I ended up giving it 3 stars, and I think that's largely because of the mood I am in currently, because like I said, it had a vibe that I usually go for. But the basic plot, the synopsis, our main character, Kara, goes to live with her uncle who runs a museum of just weird and wonderful things. There's a bunch of taxidermy, and he believes in Bigfoot and all kinds of things, and it's just like a quirky and fun environment. And she ends up finding a hole in the wall that leads to another world. And Narnia is referenced in relation to this, so you can imagine. And I don't know, I think I might have enjoyed it less because it wasn't too long ago that I read The Magicians, which references everything but Narnia, even though it is most like Narnia. But this one does reference Narnia. It felt very millennial. Like, it doesn't reference memes like Gideon the Ninth and Harrow the Ninth do. And I love that they do that. But it has that vibe. It mentions fan fiction, if that gives you an indication of like how it feels. And it felt very self-aware, like the writing style felt very like self-aware in a Twittery sort of way. Like a bit distant and sarcastic kind of vibe. That's the vibe I get from the main character. And I mean, that's fair. That's how some people are, including myself sometimes. So the actual like horror aspect, it was more so like gross than horrifying. I wasn't tense at any point, but I did enjoy the journey. And I liked both the main character and her sidekick, I guess, who is a gay man, if that is of interest to anyone. Mostly I just really like the setting of this shitty museum of weird things. It's called like the Museum of Wonders something. The Wonder Museum is how they refer to it. If anything I've said appeals to you at all, then by all means check it out. Like, it is spooky and creepy. It just wasn't like, I wasn't scared. Maybe I should have been. But it is like tagged as horror, so it's gonna count for horror. It's counted. Because it's March 31st today. And I have so little energy recently that I can't read another book and edit the video before tomorrow. That's not gonna happen. So I finished the War Games readathon. So in the end, I read 2 5-star books and 2 3-star books and 1 4-star. Not what I was hoping for, but pretty good. 2 5-star books is great. And I love that for me. So the 5 stars, quick recap, were The White Tiger by Aravind Adiga and The Confession by Jessie Burton. 4 stars, The Dispossessed by Ursula K. Le Guin. 3 stars to Lobizona by Romina Garber, and The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher. So there we go. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. And if you are watching and you also did the readathon, I hope you enjoyed it and read more 5-star books than I did. And until I see you next time, please take care.